Hello and welcome to the business interview here on France 24. I'm Marcus Carlson. Today we're coming to you from the French Economics and Industry Ministry here in Paris, and we're here for a conference on the internet and information technology. And one of the participants in this conference is Hans Vestberg. He's the chief executive of Ericsson, the telecoms equipment maker. Welcome to the program and welcome to France 24.
Thank you.
Now, you've just come out with some fairly solid earnings this week. Talk to us about the general trading climate that you are seeing in the global economy today.
We released our third quarter earnings yesterday, and what we saw is that we continued to have a good growth. We grew 24% year over year in sort of a adjusted currency. What is basically driving it is the mobile broadband all around the world, but also our service portfolio, as 40% of our turnover is actually in services, everything from installation, consulting and running networks. So that is actually fueling our growth in this quarter. Very similar to the second quarter where we also grew 24%.
But you came up with a fairly cautious outlook though. What should we be reading into that? Are you a little bit fearful that the next few months in the global economy could be tough?
I think that what we try to say is that the fundamentals in the telecom industry and the mobile industry is still very good. People use networks even more, coming out new devices, data use is going up. But of course, as everybody else in the world, of course, is seeing what's happening around us. And what we said is that what is important for us is to see how my customers, the operators that have all the networks, how they will act in the short term right now, if they were going to be more cautious or not. And we said that we cannot exclude that there might be that. But up to the third quarter, we have had some impacts, especially Southern Europe, less investments, and we have had the Arab Spring for quite a while. But that's no news that we have had basically through the year. So those regions has been a little bit less of investment at the moment.
But what are your operators or your customers saying at the moment? What are the operators saying? Are they going to construct new networks, or where are they? Are they just managing and taking care of their old ones?
I think that I tried to explain yesterday and previous as well, what are the main topics we are discussing with our customers. And then you need to remember we're in 180 countries. The last 30 days I probably met 30% or 70% of the revenue base of Ericsson. Mostly we discuss mobile broadband, how to monetize that. Then we discuss managed services. And then we discuss quite a lot about IPRs and patents in this industry. And then, of course, we also discuss about the uncertainties around us. But to be honest, right now the growth in the networks has been the predominant discussion, how we technology-wise sort that out, etc. But of course, everybody sees what's happening all around us. But for Ericsson, the most important is to be close to our customers, to listen to them if they're going to reduce the spending because they are uncertain of what we as consumers are going to do in the networks. And so far up to the third quarter, we haven't seen much of it, but we say we cannot exclude that in the short term given what's happening all around us.
As you say, during the third quarter, you came up with a profit around about $950 million US. Looking ahead, what kind of risks do you see? What's the main risk to your business?
I think that the strength that we have in Ericsson is that we are in 180 countries. We have roughly 60% infrastructure sales, 40% service sales. And usually they are coming up and down in different sequences. Right now we have 8 regions out of 10 growing. And actually North America was growing for us all through last year, and now that's the region that is not growing, and all other regions are growing for us. So I think that for us, we have a good geographical spread and also a product spread. But I think that it's a lot about managing the short term here to understand, be close. And I think that we have been always time working with continuous planning and so on, and that's sort of our work.
When it comes to mobile telecoms equipment, you're really the number one. You're the market leader at the moment. Do you see any risk of you losing that position in the years to come?
I think, first of all, it's a reason why we see competition here, of course, because everybody looks into wireless and mobility and mobile broadband as one of the big drive engines in the future. Ericsson has been the number one in that industry for as long as it has been around. Of course, our aim is to continue to keep that number one position, and we have gained market share the last 1.5 years. And even then when we came out now with the third quarter, we said that we feel good about it. We believe we have gained market share, but not everybody has reported, so it's hard to say. But yes, I think that it's tough, but we still keep it up with a high level of research and development. We spend roughly in euro terms, 3.5 billion euro a year in research and development in order to have capabilities in the networks.
Just like many other Western companies, you're facing stiff competition and growing competition from emerging economies. One of your main competitors is Huawei from China. How do you look at the Chinese market and other developing markets at the moment? Is it a threat or is it just a possibility?
From a market point of view, we came to China 1892. So, of course, we have a long history, and it is our second largest market worldwide. It's only US that is bigger, and it's been that for a long time. So it's domestically, the Chinese market is extremely important. But again, I mean, looking into the infrastructure business we have, we see, of course, competition changing. We have more Asian competitors right now than for 5 years ago. But again, it's not strange that people come into this business because they see the replication and all new subscribers. When we ended the last quarter now, it was 5.8 billion mobile subscriptions in the world, and it's continued to grow. So, of course, our forecast is that by 2016, it's going to be 5 billion mobile broadband subscriptions. That means we're going to have 3 times as many people having access to internet compared to today, and it's going to be through the mobility. So, yes, you can understand that the more people than us seeing that this is an important industry.
I want to talk about the future in just a little bit. First, though, I have to ask you about Sony Ericsson, your joint venture, mobile handset making joint venture with Sony. There's been talk of you pulling out of that joint venture and selling off your part to Sony. Is that going to happen?
I think that there's a lot of speculation and rumors around the company like Ericsson, and recently there has been some speculation and rumors around Sony Ericsson. In general, we never comment on speculation or rumors, and if we have something big and if we buy a company or something, we communicate with the whole market. So we don't comment on any speculation or rumors.
But that joint venture, it's been in existence for, what, 10 years, roundabout now?
Yeah, 10 years.
In the next 10 years, is Ericsson going to be involved in handset making?
I think we are involved in handset making, both in Sony Ericsson and ST Ericsson. We are part of the whole value chain from infrastructure.
But will the Ericsson brand be on a phone in 2 years' time?
I think that now we are going into the speculation and rumors again. And I mean, we have been in there for 10 years and nothing new is to be communicated.
All right, fair play. Let's go back to the future then. One of your passions, it seems to be the networked society. You're talking a lot about it when you're out doing conferences and at other venues. Talk to us what the networked society is.
I think that when we think about our industry, where we're into, and we see that there's the 5th technology revolution. And the technology revolution usually have 2 periods. The first period is when you build all the networks, which we have come to today, where we have 5.8 billion mobile subscriptions. And then you have a second phase where you actually start using the technology for a totally different way. And that's what we see right now, because we are now seeing that we built all this network for actually calling each other and talking on the phone. Now we're using them totally different. We're data enabling them. We see internet usage. And that's what we call the network society, basically saying that anything that benefits from being connected will be connected in the future. And
but what does that mean, though, for the regular consumer?
For the regular consumer, it's going to be that it's going to be even more coverage, even higher speeds in the broadband and the mobility networks. But then you need to think about all other areas which we can sort of work with. Let's take healthcare. Let's take education. Of course, with the mobility and the broadband, we can actually distribute information in a totally different way, and we can transform industries as healthcare, as education, as transport and logistics. So I see a second phase here, the next 20 years, where we're actually going to use the networks in a totally different way, and we can already see it now with all the new devices coming out in the networks and how we use the networks. And that's what we call the network society.
Some consumers, though, they're wondering what the utility is of having their mobile phone talk to their, I don't know, fridge. What is the utility, as I say? How is it going to change my life on a daily basis?
I think that consumers is the first that I start using it because we are finding it more efficient. And I guess in our last survey on smartphone users, they spend 75% of the time they spend on the phone not calling anyone. If you did that 5 years ago, basically 93% of all the time on the phone was actually calling someone. So I think that you and I, we are already finding efficiency, finding information, checking mail, whatever it might be. In the next phase, we're going to see enterprises using this mobility and this broadband to transform their industry. That might be, as I said before, the utility industry, like power, using smart power grids in order to use the energy in a smarter way. It might be healthcare, remote medicine, and all of that. So I think that we're going to see other groups in this world that's going to use the networks to finding efficiencies.
And how does Ericsson, as a company, how are you going to tap into all of that potential growth?
I think our main task in this is, of course, to create technology that can enable all of this. And that's what we're doing. We are investing in this to see that the network can actually be capable of managing remote medicine equally much as you and I are checking the weather on the mobile phone, or if it might be a live video cast from a fire from a mobile device in order to understand what's happening there. All of that, we need to see that the technology empowers. And that's why we're close to these industries. We talk to governments in order to understand what do they really want to do with the networks in the future. And then we build the networks for the operators in order to make that happen.
All right, with that look ahead, we're going to have to wrap it up there. Thanks very much indeed, Hans Westberg, the Chief Executive and President of Ericsson, for speaking to us today. And with that, we're going to wrap up the program. Thanks for watching.